If you don't know me, my name is Kuny and I'm 50 years old and I am what I would call your average American woman. As a child, I was very thin, and once I got into my teens, I packed on a little weight, but maybe only like 15 to 20 pounds of subcutaneous fat in my thighs and in my rear, and a little bit, I've got kind of bat wings. So all of those kind of started to happen in my teens. And it wasn't until after I had my first son, Jeremy, when I was 20, that I really started to ride the weight gain and weight loss roller coaster. Now, I can't really blame Jeremy for all of my weight gain. I only gained 28 pounds with him while I was pregnant, which is exactly what you're supposed to gain. But unfortunately, what I didn't know then, which I clearly know now, is if you maintain a diet heavily weighted on Eggo waffles, chocolate donuts, and In-N-Out burger, you're going to pack on weight. And unfortunately, a year after I had Jeremy, I was carrying around 195 pounds on my 5'4" frame, which is not at all ideal. But in your 20s, you may not really know what it is to really carry around this extra weight, what it really does to you. So fair warning, I have a tendency to say the quiet parts out loud. I say the things that people really don't want to consider, they don't really want to take a good look at, and they don't want to admit to in their own lives. But I truly believe that what it is I'm about to tell you really needs to be said. So what I've noticed over the years of my roller coaster ups and downs with my weight and all of my obsession with trying to figure out how to lose weight, and many times actually really doing what it is that needed to be done to lose the weight, I have noticed that the media around weight loss tends to focus on people who need to lose 100 pounds or more, hundreds of pounds. These huge transformations that people go from 400 pounds to 160 pounds, or 250 to 150. And while that is absolutely wonderful for those people, and there is a segment of our society that benefits from seeing that, I think that we lose out when we don't focus on what is the average person around us experiencing. And in my personal opinion, when I look around, most people that are carrying around extra weight, they're carrying anywhere between like maybe 20 to 70 pounds. And in that frame of 20 to 70 pounds, most people will look at us and say, oh, well, you're not fat. But the truth is we are fat. We are metabolically, physically unhealthy because of our fat. When someone is over 100 pounds weight, they know that they're overweight, that they're unhealthy. But I think that for the most part in our minds, we don't think that it's really that bad if we're carrying around an extra 30, 40 pounds. But unfortunately, that just isn't actually true. Maybe we know that in the back of our minds, but when we're 20, when we're 30, even when we're 40, we're not identifying with what it really means for us to be carrying around this extra weight. And if we're going to be honest with ourselves, ladies, truly, if we're going to go into our minds and we're going to admit what it is that truly drives us when it comes to our perception of being fat, we're worried about being unattractive. we're not worried about being unhealthy. We only really care whether or not when someone looks at us, when a man looks at us, does he find our appearance to be pleasing to his eye? I know that for me, all of my adult life, up until very recently, 70 pounds up, 70 pounds down, all I thought about was, I don't want to be fat. Fat was the focus. And unfortunately, that is not a healthy message. Believe me, it is not a healthy message. It leaves us in a state of mind that is constantly questioning and placing value on this extraneous thing about us, rather than truly taking care of who we are and what we are internally, physiologically, and mentally. And believe me, over the years, over the last 30 years, I have tried so many different things. Now, I personally do not ascribe to taking a pill for anything. And probably the biggest factor of that is I don't like to take pills. Like, I cannot swallow them. They make me feel like I'm gagging, like they get stuck in my throat. I can't get it down. And so the thought of taking a pill actually leaves me feeling queasy. And so I am extremely fortunate for myself that I don't have the want to just take a pill and it be gone. But I have tried so many things over the years. I mean, I can't say tried. I have done so many things over the years. The first time I ever attempted to truly lose weight was, oh gosh, I don't know. Let's see. 2006, I think, was when I first really started focusing, saying, whoa, I need to lose weight. And I was, I don't know, at that point, I was probably 65 pounds overweight. And I did what we did back then, and probably still exists to some extent now. I stalked nutrition labels. I obsessively weighed out everything I ever put into my body. I didn't necessarily stay away from packaged foods, but I read the labels and, just made sure that I knew exactly what quantities of things I was putting in my body, which, by the way, they don't know. Those nutrition labels, they are not accurate. So it drives me crazy that we still obsess about them today. I mean, ingredient labels are not even full and intact. They're allowed to put things into the foods that are not on the label because it's in such small quantities, but it just drives me crazy. So I, counted calories. I wrote it down in a little book. I probably still have the little book around here somewhere. If I find it, I'll show it in one of the subsequent episodes of this series. I purchased twice. I had 2 separate versions of the Body Bug. I don't know if you remember the Body Bug, but if you ever watched The Biggest Loser, they had this thing that strapped onto their arm, and it was supposed to count the number of calories you were exerting at any given time. And there was an app that went with it, and you logged your food, and it gave you a balance sheet at the end of the day, essentially, of how much in, how much out, and just mania and obsessiveness that does not need to be happening in our days to lose weight. I hit the gym every morning for months and months and months on end, 2 hours at the gym, a really hard workout, cardio, strength training. And my favorite part, which I really wish I had access to now, after I had sweat really good, I would go sit in the dry sauna, which smelled like wood, and it was just amazing, and I would sweat out, and it was just, oh, I wish I still had that. But unfortunately, I don't have that as an option now, and so I never get to do that. Maybe someday. Maybe someday. The other thing I used to do is I used to drag my 9-year-old son, Jeremy, out with me to walk. Now, he didn't really want to go for walks. Now, once he was out on the walks, he was fine. But ahead of time, he did not want to go out. He never wanted to go with me. But I would drag him out on 3, 6, 9 mile walks, usually just a 3 or a 6. And he would, as we're walking, starting to go, he would ask me, are we doing the 3 or the 6? And he's 29 now, and he still references that, which is, so there were good memories with that. And I love walking. I really love walking. But I would do these 3, 6, 9, sometimes 12. We even did a 15-mile walk once. We went from our apartment to a park and then spent the few hours there and then came back. Now he scooted, he didn't walk the whole way, but I love walking. And so we would go out sometimes twice a day for these 3 and 6 mile walks. And this is not how we need to be spending our lives. That there's obsession there. I've tried intermittent fasting, which I'll be honest with you is a little bit too easy for me to do on a consistent basis because I have a tendency to easily just not eat for a couple days each week. Like, I don't know. I didn't find it to be ideal for me. And then I even a couple of years ago paid for the Zoe program. If you're familiar with the Zoe program, they send you this box of goodies. You eat these blue cookies, which by the way did not work for me. I never saw them come out the other end, so I don't know how quick my digestion was. They gave me a glucose monitor, which by the way also I think is to some degree not accurate. Really not accurate. I ate a donut first thing in the morning and then my blood sugar didn't move for 4 hours. I don't know. And then they send you this report of all of the gut bugs that you have. And then they say, eat this and eat this. And, I don't know. I kind of found it to be a little gimmicky. And truth be told, I easily fall for gimmicks when it comes to what I think that I'm doing something really healthy for my body. Now, please know that of these things that I did over all of these years, every time I lost the weight I intended to lose. It worked. Everything, calorie restriction, eating almost nothing in a day, and massively trying to eat the healthier foods, but just restricting and extra exercise, all of these things, they worked. They did. They pulled the weight off of me. And yet, 3 months ago, I was still 202 pounds. Not still, but again, 202 pounds. At one point, I actually did keep off the weight 5 years. And I've always heard it said, well, if you can keep it off for 5 years, it's off forever. That is not true. If you stop doing the things that allow you to lose the weight or keep the weight off, you're going to gain it right back. And that is the mania and the, what do they call it? The insanity, right? The definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And this is what we do. We do these things. We call it a diet, meaning we're going to do it for a certain period of time and then we're going to stop doing it. The word diet actually means how you eat. So we shouldn't ever go on a diet. We should just have a diet. And while I have truly known over the years the way that I need to eat to maintain the body that I know I'm supposed to have, I just never stuck with it. Because in my mind, it was a short-term thing. Or you stop eating, completely abstinence, I'm not eating packaged foods anymore. Did this a couple years ago. Dropped 35 pounds in 6 weeks by walking and eating healthy. No packaged foods, no dairy, nothing. Well, I don't eat meat, by the way. I stopped eating meat in 2007. I've never gone back from that. At this point, I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of terrified of meat and it grosses me out. Not to say that some of the meats don't really smell amazing, because they do. They smell amazing. Let's be real. Bacon smells amazing. Haven't had it since 2007, but it still smells amazing. But no, I do not eat meat. But I do eat a bunch of healthy, my papers fell. I have a list of things I need to tell you because I can't remember. I will just go on and ramble all over the place if I don't have something to keep me on track. But if I read it, I sound like I do when I narrate my cookie videos. Yes, I make cookies. I don't eat the cookies, but I make the cookies. Let's see. What was I saying? I don't remember where I was at. Anyways, oh, I eat healthy in a lot of ways. I eat a lot of vegetables and a lot of fruits and cook with spices, but I still was eating the donuts, the crackers, the cookies, the chips, the ice cream, the butter, the pasta, you know, all of the stuff that we know adds weight to us. And I got up to, back again 3 months ago, 202 pounds. And again, because our society so focuses on the people that are 100, 200 pounds overweight, you say 202, that's nothing. Well, I'm 5'4". I'm supposed to weigh 125 pounds. That's a lot of weight. My BMI was 34.7. That is obese. That is the very definition of extra fat. And I'll be honest with you, at that point, I wasn't really all that concerned about it. I made my peace with my weight about a year ago when I started to realize, why is it I don't want to be fat? The only driver in my mind that I ever had was I don't want to be fat. Like, being fat was the worst thing in the world that I could be. And that is the mindset that I have always operated from. But last year, at 49 years old, I realized I did not want to be a 50-year-old woman who was only concerned about the size of her body and what it looks like to other people, ergo men. I am 50 years old. I am married. I'm done having children. Why would I be concerned about the way other men look at my waist and my rear? And yet, that is the state of mind that I have always operated from. In our society, we value youth and looks and sexuality and this perverse way of looking at women as being women's really their only value. And that is sad. That is really, really sad. Because in our 20s, in our 30s, in our 40s, we're only concerned, I mean, maybe not everyone, but I like to say the quiet parts out loud. I know I am not the only one. And most of the women that I talk to about this kind of stuff, they deny it. But I can see in their behavior what the makeup that they're wearing, all the money that they spend on their nails and their hair, and they stand there and they try to tell me, oh, I do it for myself. BS is all I have to say about that. You're lying to yourself if you truly think if you really truly think that, if you think that that's what you think. Because we have grown up in a society that puts women out there as sex objects all the time. And even if we're trying to overcome that, we're not overcoming it. We're living right in it. And I finally got to the point where I realized at 49 years old, I don't want any part of that. I don't want any part of that. Gone are the days where we celebrated growing older and the wisdom that comes with it. And that saddens me. So now you may be wondering, what is my point? Why am I telling you all of this? Well, ladies, I have to be honest with you. And we hear about this from other people when we're younger, and we don't believe it. But please take a moment to really consider what it is that I'm about to say. When you hit your 40s, could be 42, could be 40, could be 45, could be 47. I was 47 when I started to notice changes. Our bodies change. They change in a way that we don't see coming. And it's only recently that people have started to talk about the changes that happen with women in their 40s. And I was blindsided. I knew that I was getting to years where I will be in menopause in the not too distant future. But I didn't understand what all of that meant. And so there are a number of things that I dealt with that I didn't see coming. I was feeling anxious. I never felt anxious in my life outside of a need to feel anxious, like heart palpitations and just feeling of worry. I never had that. I thought, what is wrong with me? I became extremely forgetful, stupid forgetful, like funny forgetful, not menacing, but funny. Like I'm going to look for something and it's nowhere to be found. And, you know, I was looking for the ginger one day. Where did I put the ground ginger? I'm looking in the cabinet, and like, where is it? A few minutes later, I open up a completely different cabinet that has plates in it. And there's my ginger. Why is my ginger in the cabinet with plates? I don't remember putting it there. I've lived in this house for 13 years. I don't think I'm going to all of a sudden start putting the spices somewhere that they don't belong. Or the time that I went to go grab a little container for an onion, because I have these little forget-me-not that hold the onions in there perfectly, and it keeps them all fresh and everything. You put them in the freezer and the refrigerator, and I go in there on a Tuesday to grab a new one, and what do I find there? I find a forget-me-not full of half an onion that is perfectly preserved in the cabinet from the prior Friday. What is that? Where does that come from? I used to be able to go into rooms and, you go into a room looking for something. You know that, the heck is this? You know that this hair is bothering me. You know that you're in there for something. You know you're in the right place for the something that you're looking for. And typically, what do you do when your brain stops working like that? You go back to where you came from, and instantly you remember why you were there. Except now you don't remember. You go back to where you came from. There's no clues. There's no cues. You don't know why it is. And you go, well, maybe it'll come to me later. That is the kind of thing that you experience. I don't think I'm the only one, but I know that that's what I have experienced. But the biggest thing for me that I was like, whoa, what is this? What is this? As a habitual rider of the weight gain and loss roller coaster, all of my life, I know, well, not all of my life, all of my adult life, I know exactly where weight is going to pack on and when I start to lose it, where it's going to come off of, and basically in what order. Never in my life until 2.5 years ago, had I ever gained weight in the middle. I have never had a belly. Now, I don't have a washboard, but I have never had a belly. I pack on weight in other places, and I was starting to have a whole bunch of belly I never had before. And I was just completely baffled by it. What is this? And so I started to do some research, and turns out for some strange reason, when your hormones start to go all wacky doodle, you start to gain visceral fat. And so now I'm not just packing on weight in the thicker areas that I'm used to, which is all subcutaneous fat, which in some ways can be protective. I am now instead packing all of this weight on right in the middle. And I have this huge, for me, huge belly that I never had before, knowing that what is underneath is the kind of fat that wraps around your organs and that is extremely unhealthy. Let's just say, gone are the days of living in la la land that we can put in anything into our bodies and it doesn't matter. It does matter. In addition to all of the perimenopausal stuff that I have experienced with the, the mental state and the packing on of the weight and all of these other things that go with coming to the end of your menstrual cycle, I have also been experiencing a number of other there really are rather minor inconveniences, but one of them literally prohibits me from being able to be active and move around the way that I like to. I do not sit down. If I have the choice in my day of what I am doing, I don't sit. I never sit. I am up on my feet all day long, usually in my kitchen, maybe the backyard these days. I want to be on my feet. I have a lot of energy, not the I'm going to go out and run a marathon kind of energy, but I have a lot of energy that just maintains all throughout the day. But when I'm done, I'm done, I'm down for the count. So I don't sit. So the worst thing in the world that could ever happen to me is that I have problems with my feet. And to say that I have problems with my feet is to put it kind of mildly, because truly, by the end of every day, especially days where I have stood even more than I probably should have for the fact that I have the problem, I am practically crippled. I am literally, sometimes in the middle of the night, when I get up to go to the bathroom, I have to crawl to the bathroom because I can't put weight on my feet. I have a pretty darn good case of plantar fasciitis in both feet. Now I have been to a couple of different podiatrists, and I cannot get either one of them to admit that women of a certain age have a tendency to be the large majority of the people who experience problems with plantar fasciitis. And if you're under mid-40s and you've never had it, great. If you're in your mid to late 40s or even older and you've had plantar fasciitis, I am so sorry for your pain, because it is rather unbearable when it's there, when it's inflamed really, really badly. And it's really weird too. It's I don't understand this one. Sometimes, 1 minute I'm fine and the next minute I'm limping, and then I'm limping and then the next minute I'm fine. I don't even understand. But for sure, if I spend all day on my feet, it's just a no-go. By the time, it's okay while I'm standing, my feet hurt all the way around. I have more than just plantar fasciitis. I've got other stuff too with my feet, but the bulk of it is that. I can feel it, they hurt, I can deal with it. But if I sit down for 5 minutes and then get up again, I almost can't walk. So what does my diet have to do with my feet? So when I went to my new regular doctor, what do they call it? I don't know, I can't think of what they're called. The practitioner, the general practitioner, the GP. Okay. When I went to her and I laundry listed all of the different things that I was experiencing, not related to the perimenopause, just other things. I don't even remember what they are, but I have them written down somewhere. She looked at me kind of deadpan and she said, "You have inflammation. all of your problems are caused by inflammation. You need to go on an anti-inflammatory diet. Which I already knew. I knew the problems, all of the problems that I was experiencing. I knew they had to do with inflammation. And I didn't change my way of eating. But she said, you need to go on an anti-inflammatory diet. I kind of played dumb. I said like, oh, what does that mean? What kind of an anti-inflammatory diet do you mean? And she basically turned me to Forks Over Knives, the movie, which I'm very well versed in. I had actually eaten that way a couple of years ago. And interestingly enough, after I added dairy back into my diet, about 6 months later is when I started having the problems with my feet. Could be connected, could not, I don't know. But, so 3 months ago, I came home, I reacquainted myself with Forks Over Knives, and I looked in my pantry and I basically said, okay, actually really not my pantry, my refrigerator, because the biggest offenders were in the fridge in the form of butter and milk, all the dairy products, cheese. For so many years I said, cheese is the reason I can never be vegan. And then I let go of cheese for literally almost 2 years and then let it back in. And then I said, cheese is the reason I couldn't be vegan. And now I'm like, yes, I love cheese, but I choose not to have it. I choose not to have the dairy. I choose not to have the white flour pasta. I choose not to eat the cookies that smell so amazing when I bake them and I ice them and I package them and I sell them. I choose not to eat much in the way of oil. I choose to reduce the amount of salt I have in my diet. I choose not to eat regular granulated sugar. Truth be told, I do still have some dairy and some maple, but you know what? You gotta do what you gotta do in order to eat the really healthy things. If you have to put a little bit of unhealthy on it, do it. And the thing is, I eat healthy as a base. I have been for years. I cook from scratch. We do not eat out. We live in Southern California. We can't afford to eat out. Gas is like $7 a gallon. We couldn't eat out if we wanted to, which, by the way, when we have eaten out over the last few years here and there, the food is never as good as the food I have at home. I use vegetables and lots of vegetables and greens and these huge salads with just about everything thrown in it that you can think of, edamame and sweet potato and black rice and tomatoes and arugula and butter lettuce and spinach and sunflower seeds. I mean, just on and on, just like whatever is in my eye shot as I'm putting my salads together. And then I just dress them with just some tasty, fancy flavored balsamic vinegar, which again, may not be ideal, but I'm putting on maybe a tablespoon, possibly a tablespoon and a quarter. So I feel like it's worth it if it's gonna get me to eat those greens and those amazing, amazing foods, and I look forward to it. My mouth is watering now thinking about making a salad because it's noon, I'm hungry. I even mill my own flour and make my own bread. I'm eating actual whole wheat bread, not the bread at the store that is white bread where they throw some of the extra germ back into it to make it look brown. Fully intact. Now, there are all sorts of schools of thought that even when you mill your flour, while you're getting all the nutrients in it, it creates a higher glycemic load because the bits are so small and it packs, into your bloodstream quicker. If I were like really sick I might ditch the salt, the oil, the sugar completely. No balsamic, right? Like the tasty balsamics. No little bits of maple syrup and no bread. But you know what? I'm hoping to not have to ever go that far, because I'm hoping that what I am doing now is going to be enough to keep me healthy. So in the last 3 months, I have reduced my body weight a little over 10%. I haven't been on the scale in a few weeks, so I don't exactly know where I'm at. In the coming episodes that I will be chronicling through a 7-day water only fast, I will share more details of what's going on, the ups, the downs, where I'm at, where's my weight, my waist circumference, because we're trying to prioritize the loss of visceral fat. Everything that I have done so far is leading me toward getting rid of that visceral fat, and it has gone down. But I want to give my body the chance to heal the different things that I've got going on. I will be doing a 7-day water only fast. That means water only. That doesn't mean tea. That doesn't mean coffee. That doesn't mean, or it doesn't mean, I will not be having tea. I will not be having coffee. I will not be having protein shakes. I will not be having juice. I will not be having any electrolytes. I did already have my blood work done. I know that my body is in a healthy state enough to be able to do this 7-day water fast. And I will be chronicling all along everything that I'm doing. I will show you how I intend to break my fast. Hopefully I get to go the full 7 days, because sometimes your body says, no, you are done. If you throw up, you're done. That's a full stop. You can't continue to fast if you have this. I have fasted to up to 3 days before. Usually by the 3rd day, I've got a massive headache, and then I'm like dying to break my fast with a banana. Now, I never intended to be more than 3 days before. However, I also have never prepared properly for a fast before. I am about 5 days before I'm going to start the fast this time. I will be eating, over the 2 days prior to fasting, I will be eating only basically vegetables and fruits, either raw or steamed, and no oil, salt, sugar, no caffeine. I've already yanked out the coffee and gone to an herbal tea this week, just so that I don't have the massive headache that is probably caused by lack of caffeine. Could be. I don't know. We'll see. I have no idea what to expect. I've heard that you can have mental state changes. You could be all over emotionally, all over the page. You could be massively tired, and then about day 4 you get a surge of energy. I mean, I've heard all sorts of different things that can happen. So for this water fast, the prescription is water, rest, and prayer. And those are the only things that I will be doing throughout the fast. I will not be doing any exercise, maybe a little tiny walk here and there. I think you can go up to like a short walk, like less than 30 minutes at a very slow pace, just to get your body moving during that time. We don't want to exercise. From what I understand, you don't want to exercise, because if you do any sort of exercise, you're going to lose lean tissue instead of the visceral fat. And I cannot afford to lose any lean tissue, because let me tell you, that is another thing that happens in this age range, being close to 50. You start to lose muscle mass. And I've already experienced my body starting to break down in that way. I can tell I'm not as strong as I was 3 years ago. And this is not okay. So I cannot afford to lose any additional muscle. Any muscle that I do lose during the fast should all be back, and maybe extra more put on within about 6 weeks. I will lose a little bit of muscle. I will lose my glycogen stores from not eating, and I will dehydrate a little bit. and I will also lose visceral fat. Now, I wish I had the ability to go out and do the DEXA scan and all of these things, these, all of the tests that you can possibly do with this, but I can't. I could have done this all not on camera, but truly what I really want is to be able to share with you the reality of what I experience as I do this fast, and hope that it is an encouragement to you in whatever way you need encouragement. I will say, ideally, I would have done this through maybe, I think it's called Fasting Escape is the name of the company that will do remote fasting. I did contact the True North Health Center as well, if you've heard of them, with Dr. Goldhammer. I did contact them as well to see what my options were as far as doing a remote fasting. But unfortunately, we're cinched pretty tight in the budget these days. And so I cannot afford to do either one of those. I did read Dr. Goldhammer's Can Fasting Save Your Life? And I've watched just about everything I could find with him talking about it, as well as Dr. Lyle, if you're familiar with them at all. And I know they would say, don't fast on your own. So please understand that it is never recommended to fast on your own. But I do have access to someone that knows a little bit about fasting, my chiropractor, who is actually helping to fix my feet. Why can't the podiatrist fix my feet? My chiropractor's fixing my feet. Anyways, he's helping. He knows a little bit and has done it himself as well and can take my vitals and that kind of stuff. So I do have some support, and I did already do my metabolic panel, so I do know where my body is health-wise in that capacity. And I do have I think I have a decent idea of when enough is enough and when you have to pull the plug. So this is where we're at, and the next time I see you, I will be starting on day 1 of what is hopefully going to be a very fruitful 7-day fast.